The Galactic Empire, a coalition of star systems bound by conquest and dominion, turned its gaze toward Earth, a planet deemed insignificant until its rapid technological advancement caught Imperial attention. From the darkness of space, the Empire's flagship, Eviscerator, emerged with its escort fleet, an ominous shadow over Earth's blue expanse. The humans below could only watch in growing dread as alien warships blackened the skies, their advanced weaponry gleaming ominously under the sun. The Empire had a long and bloody history of exterminating resistance. No species had withstood the might of its forces, and Earth was deemed no exception. From their ships descended the Predators, the Empire's elite hunters, bred for violence and perfected through eons of genetic engineering. Standing tall on digitigrade legs, their sinewy frames rippled with unnatural strength. Their exoskeletal armor shimmered with adaptive camouflage, making them nearly invisible to the naked eye. Serrated weapons, honed for close-quarters slaughter, gleamed under alien sunlight. These were not mere soldiers, they were apex hunters. As the Predators descended in dropships, humanity's initial attempts to resist were futile. A multinational coalition launched a desperate strike against the invasion, deploying their most advanced fighter jets and tanks. The Predators made a mockery of their efforts. Entire fleets were reduced to fiery debris in seconds. Cities turned to rubble beneath the Empire's orbital bombardment. Every counterattack ended in failure. Every line of defense was breached with terrifying ease. The screams of the dying echoed through the ruins of once thriving metropolises. On the ground, the Predators unleashed terror unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Moving with predatory precision, they hunted resistance fighters and civilians alike. Entire battalions disappeared in ambushes, their bodies left as grisly warnings. Survivors spoke of invisible phantoms stalking them, laughter like growls emerging from nowhere before the killing blows fell. Panic spread across the ranks. Despair took hold. Humanity's greatest defenders were helpless prey, scattering under the weight of an unstoppable enemy. In one chilling instance, a Predator commander captured a human officer. The towering alien held the man aloft by the throat, its mandibles clicking with sadistic glee. "Your species is weak," it hissed in heavily accented English. Another hunt. Another victory. With a single slash of its blade, the officer was silenced. The message was clear. Earth was next on the Empire's long list of conquests. Yet, amid the chaos, whispers of a contingency plan began to surface. A secure facility buried deep beneath the ruins of a major city became the focus of hushed discussions among high-ranking officials. No Predator patrols dared venture too close to its heavily fortified entrance. Only a select few humans seemed calm amid the carnage, speaking in cryptic terms of a final countermeasure. A meeting in a hidden war room revealed the truth. "They think they're the hunters," a grizzled general said, his voice steady despite the grim circumstances. "But humanity has faced Predators before. We've become masters of survival. Now it's time to remind them why we're still here." As the Predators celebrated their swift victories, unaware of the storm brewing beneath their feet, Earth prepared to unleash its ultimate weapon, something born not of desperation, but of a deep understanding of fear itself. In the depths of the underground facility, shielded from the destruction above, humanity's last resort was brought to life. This was no weapon forged of conventional means. It was a being, an experiment long deemed too dangerous to release, a product of humanity's darkest scientific ambitions. The Boogeyman. For decades, whispers of the Boogeyman had existed only in classified reports and the hushed conversations of those few who knew its origins. It was the culmination of years of experimentation in genetic engineering, psychological conditioning, and biological enhancement. While the Galactic Empire had bred its Predators to be apex hunters, humanity had crafted the perfect counter. A Predator designed to hunt Predators. The Boogeyman was not merely human. It was an amalgamation of human resilience and alien ingenuity. Enhanced with bio-augmented reflexes, unparalleled sensory perception, and a mind conditioned for relentless focus, it was the embodiment of fear itself. But its most terrifying trait wasn't physical, it was psychological. It understood fear on an instinctive level and wielded it as a weapon. As the facility's scientists worked to awaken the Boogeyman, a palpable tension filled the air. Even the most hardened military personnel stood uneasy, avoiding prolonged eye contact with the figure within the cryogenic chamber. Frost evaporated from its containment unit, revealing a silhouette that seemed unnervingly still yet profoundly alive. A senior officer approached the chamber, his voice steady but lacking confidence. "You've been briefed. The Predators are decimating us. We need you to turn the tide." The chamber's mechanisms hissed open. The boogeyman stepped out, its movements fluid yet deliberate, like a predator assessing its surroundings. Its eyes, dark and piercing, scanned the room, locking onto the officer. For a moment, the silence was deafening. Then it spoke in a low, measured tone. "Let them come." Despite its calm demeanor, its reputation preceded it. It was said that during its initial testing, no simulation, no opponent, could match its lethal efficiency. Stories circulated among the staff, of hardened soldiers who quit after being tasked to spar with it, of psychological evaluations that showed lingering trauma even after observing it from a distance. The boogeyman wasn't just a weapon, it was an experience, one that left those who encountered it irrevocably changed. Its abilities were unlike anything humanity had seen before. In mere minutes, it demonstrated the kind of agility, precision, and tactical awareness that rendered traditional warfare obsolete. It moved like a shadow, vanishing and reappearing unpredictably. Every action it took was deliberate, every movement calculated to inspire maximum dread. Before its deployment, a team of technicians briefed it on the Predator forces. They spoke of their strength, their advanced technology, their hunting prowess. The boogeyman listened silently, unflinching. At the end of the briefing, it only asked one question. "How many are there?" When told the Predator's estimated numbers, it smiled faintly, an unsettling expression that carried no warmth. "Not enough," it replied. As the facility prepared for its release, reports came in of yet another Predator assault wiping out a human stronghold. The cries of the desperate echoed through the war room's communication systems. But the boogeyman showed no reaction. It was already focused on the mission ahead. Moments later, it was deployed into the heart of Predator territory. It moved without hesitation, its presence a silent storm cutting through enemy lines. For the first time, the invaders would face not prey but something far deadlier. The hunt had begun. The Predator commander surveyed the aftermath of his troops' steady decimation. Reports of unseen attacks and vanishing squads had turned once elite hunters into skittish, paranoid shadows of themselves. He knew fear when he saw it, and fear now ruled his forces. The plan was simple: flush out the enemy, overwhelm it with superior numbers and firepower. But every step forward seemed to lead them further into chaos. The boogeyman was relentless, striking with precision and unpredictability. It turned the Predator's own tactics against them. Camouflage was useless when the enemy anticipated every move. Advanced thermal scanners and motion detectors only detected fleeting glimpses before the boogeyman disappeared into the terrain. What the Predators once saw as their advantage was now a liability, manipulated and exploited to sow confusion. As the remaining soldiers moved in tighter formations, their cohesion faltered. Communication broke down under the weight of mistrust and fear. A team tasked with sweeping the forest edge found themselves lost, their navigation systems inexplicably scrambled. One by one they were picked off, silent deaths that left no trace but the echoes of their screams. The boogeyman's psychological warfare was masterful. It didn't just kill, it dismantled the morale of an army bred to dominate. It left bodies positioned to incite dread, grotesque displays of strength and cunning that unnerved even the most battle-hardened hunters. In one case, a Predator's severed hand was found clutching its weapon, still twitching, a deliberate message that their tools, their technology were meaningless here. The commander gathered his most trusted lieutenants in a desperate attempt to regroup. Their plan was bold, designed to corner and eliminate this elusive enemy. Drones and sentries were redeployed to cover blind spots. The remaining forces were spread out, each squad acting as bait while others lay in wait. But the boogeyman didn't play by their rules. Instead, it turned the bait into opportunities, isolating squads and eliminating them before reinforcements could respond. When one Predator triggered a distress signal, the responding team found nothing but the faint hum of an abandoned plasma cannon. In another instance, a trap meant to ensnare the boogeyman instead captured one of their own, bound, mutilated, and left to die in a deliberate act of terror. The commander's frustration grew with each failure. He personally led a patrol into the heart of the hunting grounds, determined to confront this enemy directly. The air felt heavier here, charged with a tension that set even his heightened instincts on edge. The forest seemed alive, every shadow a potential threat. Hours passed and the group's nerves began to fray. Then it happened: one soldier vanished without a sound. Another turned just in time to see a fleeting blur before being dragged into the darkness. The remaining Predators fired wildly, their plasma bolts lighting up the trees, but there was no target. The boogeyman had already moved on, leaving them to shoot at ghosts. When the survivors regrouped, They found their commander crouched over a strange mark carved into the dirt, a crude symbol of a predator's skull crossed out by a human hand. The meaning was clear: the hunters were now the hunted. Desperation turned to rage. The commander ordered his forces to burn the area, torching the forest in a bid to flush out their enemy. Flames roared and trees fell, but even amidst the inferno, the Boogeyman thrived. It used the chaos to its advantage, ambushing predators as they fled the smoke. Fire was no deterrent, it was another weapon in its arsenal. The commander realized too late that they had been outmatched not by technology or brute strength, but by a mind capable of turning their every strength into weakness. His forces were reduced to a scattered handful, their once imposing presence diminished to terrified survivors clinging to hope. He stared into the burning horizon, his resolve faltering for the first time. Whatever they had unleashed on this world was beyond their comprehension, a force that refused to be subdued. The Boogeyman wasn't just a countermeasure, it was vengeance incarnate. And the predators, for all their might, had no defense against it. The Galactic Empire's fleet began their hasty retreat, warships breaking formation to escape Earth's orbit. The once proud display of Imperial strength had devolved into a scramble for survival. Commanders aboard the mothership barked frantic orders, their confident arrogance shattered by the overwhelming losses. From the surface, humanity watched as the ships disappeared into the void, leaving behind only the faint glimmer of their engines in the night sky. But the battle was not yet over. On the ground, the remnants of the Predator strike force clung to their last stronghold. The commander, injured but defiant, refused to concede. His pride demanded a final stand. Blood dripped from his wounds, staining the alien soil beneath his feet, but he roared his defiance to the sky. The camp was fortified, its walls lined with the remaining elite hunters, their cloaking devices flickering erratically, a sign of their dwindling power reserves. The Boogeyman was already inside. It moved like a shadow, exploiting every blind spot and breach in their defenses. As the predators positioned themselves for what they believed would be their last stand, the Boogeyman struck with ruthless efficiency. The outer perimeter fell first, guards disappearing into the darkness without a sound, their weapons left behind as chilling trophies. Inside the stronghold, the predators heard the faint echoes of their comrades' final moments. Their discipline faltered as panic set in. These were warriors bred to hunt, yet now they were prey, unable to predict where the next attack would come from. The Boogeyman left no room for recovery, no time to regroup. Each strike was deliberate, precise, and devastating. The commander issued a command to fall back to the inner sanctum, a desperate attempt to consolidate their defenses. The surviving hunters retreated into the heart of the camp, a reinforced bunker where they believed they could hold their ground. They sealed the doors, their advanced technology creating an impenetrable barrier, or so they thought. Minutes passed in tense silence. The predators aimed their weapons at the only entrance, their thermal sensors scanning the room. Every flicker of heat, every stray movement was met with the hum of charged plasma cannons. Yet the Boogeyman did not come through the door. A low hissing sound filled the air, barely audible at first. Then, without warning, the lights cut out, plunging the room into darkness. Panic surged through the predators as their technology failed, systems sparking and monitors flickering with static. The hissing grew louder, an eerie, inhuman sound that seemed to echo from every corner. The Boogeyman struck from above, descending silently from an unseen breach in the ceiling. Before the predators could react, it had already dispatched two of them, their bodies crumpling to the floor in lifeless heaps. The others fired wildly, their plasma bolts illuminating the room in brief flashes. But each shot missed its mark. The commander roared, his voice cutting through the chaos. He charged at the Boogeyman, his claws glinting in the dim light. Their clash was brutal and swift. The commander's strength was formidable, his strikes powerful enough to cleave through steel. But the Boogeyman was faster, its movements fluid and unpredictable. Each strike from the predator was met with a counterattack, each roar silenced by a calculated blow. As the fight reached its climax, the Boogeyman disarmed the commander, pinning him against the wall. For a moment they locked eyes, hunter and prey, locked in a battle that had transcended its original purpose. The Boogeyman's voice, calm and cold, broke the silence. "This is your empire's legacy," it said. "You came here to conquer. Now you leave in shame." With a final strike, the Boogeyman ended it. The commander fell, his body slumping to the ground with a thud. The remaining predators, witnessing their leader's defeat, dropped their weapons and fled. Those who could not escape threw themselves at the Boogeyman in a futile bid for revenge, only to meet the same fate. When the dust settled, the stronghold was silent. The Boogeyman stood amidst the wreckage, the last vestiges of the Predator invasion extinguished. It turned and walked out into the open, leaving the ruins behind. The Galactic Empire, now orbiting far from Earth's reach, received the final transmission from the surface. The invasion was over. Humanity had not only survived, it had triumphed. The Empire's analysts pored over the reports, their expressions grim. They marked Earth as a no-go zone, a planet too dangerous to touch. On Earth, the Boogeyman vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Survivors whispered of its deeds, tales spreading among soldiers and civilians alike. It became a symbol of humanity's indomitable spirit, a living embodiment of the resilience that had carried them through countless challenges. In the galaxy at large, the legend of the Boogeyman grew. To the Empire it was a warning. To humanity it was hope. And to the Boogeyman itself, it was simply a mission, one it would be ready to take up again should the stars ever call for its return.